The Blue Marble Defender Series. 3 Dogged Defenders. Chapter 1. A Snap Visit. "Hey, Pops," Leo said. "Uncle Amerigo asked if we could take care of his dog Snap for the summer. Is it okay?" "Woof, woof," Pops replied. "Does he know we've moved to Geneva and will be living here all summer?" "Yes, we told him," Rookie said. "And he said that would work for him if it works for us. He's moving to Malta, and he and Lolabelle will be traveling a lot." "Well, it's okay for me as long as it's okay with Mom. Check with her." He did, and she was. The following week, the boys took the bus to Geneva's airport to greet Aunt Lolabelle and Snap. They were happy to see them, but a little disappointed she left her black Finn supercar at home. Back at home, the brothers had fun playing with Snap and felt special when she gave them an enthusiastic and cheerful greeting when they walked in the door. Rookie noticed Snap's front paws were different from other dogs. Her claws were more like fingernails, and 2 of her toes looked a lot like small fingers. He mentioned it to Lolabelle, and she said, "Those unusual front paws make her a great rock climber, a bit like a mountain goat." Leo added, "I've noticed that Snap eats her food a little slower than other dogs. Sometimes she stops and coughs, like I do when I swallow something down the wrong pipe. I don't know very many dogs, but I've never heard of one almost choke on food before." "You boys are very observant," Lolabelle said. "Amerigo and I think these differences in Snap might be the first indication of important evolutionary changes starting in all dogs. I'm sure you can imagine how helpful those differences in our paws might be in the future, the digital future in particular. But let me tell you more about our eating problem." The boys sat back in their chairs and listened intently as Lolabelle continued. "Humans evolved the ability to talk over thousands of years. Homo sapiens' mouths became smaller, necks longer, and tongues more flexible. But to permit those changes, food needed to pass the lungs' air passage before reaching the esophagus and stomach. That's why once in a while a bite goes the wrong way. Amerigo and I think dogs might one day learn to talk, and maybe, just maybe, the differences we see in Snap are the beginning." After Lolabelle left for Malta, Leo and Rookie took Snap with them when they walked around the city and spent time teaching her the meaning of a few words like run, red, and rook. She'd show she understood by running a short distance, or finding and tapping something red in the room, and approaching Rookie and tapping his knee. She tried to speak the words, but they came out as small variations on ruff. The boys liked Snap, not just because she was smart. They liked her because she was friendly, happy, and she liked them back. But there were things about Snap they didn't know. When they went out and left her home, Snap usually found a warm spot where the sun shone in. She curled herself up and closed her eyes. Now the boys thought she slept the whole time, but not so. Much of the time, Snap would think. Her thoughts were deep, such as, "I like people. I wish I could do more to help them." In the olden days, dogs were super important. We warned people if wild animals or enemies hid outside the cave or outside the tent. We fought lions and wolves to protect them and earned our food. But the world is changing, and people don't need the same protections. Nowadays, we dogs are still friendly and loyal, but gee, dogs can be more than just good companions. I know I can do more. I wish I had the chance to show it. Chapter 2. Summer in Geneva. Leo and Rookie enjoyed exploring what was a new part of the world for them. Geneva's climbing walls Neighborhood football games and museums kept them busy while Mom and Pops worked at the United Nations. Mom went to either the WHO, that's the World Health Organization, or the International Red Cross. Pops went to either the WHO, the International Civil Defense Organization, or the Institute for Training and Research, where he taught Blue Marble Defender principles and techniques, particularly how to spot and protect against extraterrestrial aliens. Rookie was bummed that Geneva's Little League baseball season had ended before the family arrived, but fortunately, Pops had lived in Geneva as a boy and knew a few other things to do. He took them to climb on rocks, explore caves, and camp up on the Salève, a mountain in nearby France. But the best activity for Rookie was to walk to a part of town called Bout du Monde. That's the bottom of the world in English. It was a low plain formed by a bend in the Arve River, and now it was totally filled with sports fields. When they'd go, Pops would hit fly balls and grounders, and then Leo and he would play hit the bat, where one of them would toss the ball up, hit it, and the other would field it. The hitter would lay the bat down, the fielder would roll the ball toward it, and if he hit it, he took a turn batting. There was one exception. If the ball hit the bat, bounced, and the hitter caught it, he could keep on batting. The boys learned more things to do from Tina and Rebecca, two sisters who lived next door. They brought Leo and Rookie swimming in the Rhone River to La Plage, that was a beach on Lake Geneva, and on ferry rides across the lake. The girls told of mountain hikes they'd taken with their parents, and Tina told them of one that fired the boys' imaginations to learn more about Switzerland. My papa was a soldier when he was young, and he showed us a gigantic cave the army had blasted out of a mountain in the Valais area. That's northwest of Lake Geneva. There are no guns in it anymore, but you can imagine what it must have been like when you see hidden tunnels and places where nobody can see you, but you can spy out. It was so exciting to explore. Chapter 3, A Telltale. One weekend, Mom and Pops took Tina, Rebecca, Leo, and Rookie for a train ride up the lake to the Chillon Castle. The castle had been built in Roman times on an island at the edge of the lake. It had views down the lake to Geneva, across to what is now the French Savoyard region, and north to the heart of Switzerland, and west to the Valais. Long ago it protected its occupants from attack, but that castle allowed them to control roads in the region and charge tolls. The castle had later been used as a residence for dukes, but its coolest part was the dank dungeon prison on its lowest level. After the tour, and as they exited the castle walkway, Rebecca pointed toward the Valais and said, "Look at that bright yellow smoke coming down the Valais and heading toward us." "That's strange," Tina said. "I've never seen that color in nature." Mom added, "I agree. It must be a marker. Somebody's trying to check wind currents or something like that." Well, she was right, and as she gazed up, a man far away gazed down at his yellow tracking gas plume. He'd blown it from a cliffside in the Valais and observed it carefully as the valley's normal airflow brought it to the top of the lake near the castle. "Ahem, and next time, my bees, my predictable wind, you will take things from there. Yes," he whispered out into the void. For days following their visit to the castle, Leo and Rookie speculated on the source of the striking yellow smoke they'd seen, and they became even more intrigued by the story Tina had told of the secret Swiss military installation inside the mountains in the Valais. They asked Pops if he knew more about it as the family picnic in a small park near the Jet d'Eau. Geneva's 140-meter-high water fountain. He said as a boy he'd hiked in the valley with his father, and they'd passed through an abandoned artillery range where the Swiss army had shot cannons across the highway at targets on the far side of the valley. The paths were lined with large and small scraps of shrapnel and signposts telling the danger of picking up unexploded projectiles. He'd heard of hidden warplane hangars and hospitals, but he'd never found them. It had been fun, though, just walking on military roads through the cliffs where sniper positions had been carved out of the cliff face. Hey, could Leo and I go hiking there sometime? Rookie asked. Hey, I don't see why not, Pop said. Why not see if Tina and Rebecca can go with you? They might know a train station close to good hiking trails. Rookie knocked on Tina's door and asked if Rebecca and she wanted to join them for a hike. But she explained they couldn't because the family was leaving shortly for a holiday. But she did give Rookie the name of a well-located train station and directions to reach the trailhead for an interesting hike. Leo put together a backpack full of food and other gear for the hike, including a water dispenser for Snap. He checked the train schedule with his phone, and the three of them set off on their adventure. This was the first time Leo and Rookie had navigated the Geneva train system on their own, and that was an adventure in itself. Time was tight, and the line at the ticket window was long, so they queued up in front of the ticket machines and put in the still strange Swiss money for their tickets. Then, whoa! Leo said with a gasp. Now we have only 3 minutes. They jogged through the crowds and past shops with Snap trailing up by her leash. They found a tunnel to the tracks and the right one going in the right direction. They sprinted up the steps and climbed into a first-class car just as the train departed. Whew! Relieved. They then carried Snap back toward the end of the train and found seats valid for the second-class fare that they had purchased. The ride along the lake and up the valley was beautiful, but they stood near the door through several stops just to make sure they didn't miss theirs, which was called San Moritz. Chapter 4. An Adventure Begins. The three of them bounded off the San Moritz station, walked into the tourist office, and were fascinated by posters of the area's attractions, such as a subterranean lake and a waterfall, an underground artillery fort, and the Fort de Sydney, a top-secret army installation until it had been abandoned in 1995. They selected a hiking map from the wall rack, confirmed with the attendant that they could go off the trail and explore anywhere they wanted, and set off through the town to the trailhead. They found the trailhead. The trail zigzagged up a wooden slope until it reached a line of cliffs where it leveled off and brought them to an old artillery gallery, a tunnel through the side of the mountain with 2-meter by 2-meter openings through the cliff face. Looking out onto the valley floor, it was easy to imagine soldiers shooting their cannons down at an enemy. They continued through the gallery until after about 50 meters it opened up again, and it returned to just being a cliffside pathway. They found a boulder to sit on, ate their snack bars, and watered Snap. The sun was bright, and as Rookie adjusted his baseball cap, he looked at the cliff above them. Hey, am I seeing things? Or is that a pair of legs dangling off that ledge? He asked. Leo looked up and said, Ha! I guess we're not alone. He called out, Hello up there! But there was no response. Pointing to the rocks above, he said, Hey, Rook, what do you think? Could we climb up this? Sure, we've done tougher stuff on this live. Rookie said, Do you think Snap can make it? Pah! Are you kidding? Leo replied. She'll be there before we do. She's climbered off. Chapter 5. A Chat on a Ledge. Leo was right, and Snap quickly took the lead. After 10 minutes of climbing, Rookie was slightly ahead, and to his right when they heard a voice say, "Well, well, where did you come from? I bet you're a long way from home." The dangling legs disappeared, and after some muffled sounds, the same voice said, "Hello out there. Please take your dog away." Rookie called upwards, "Hello. 2 of us are just below you and climbing up. See you soon." The voice replied, but it had taken on a crabby, annoyed tone. "You're not welcome here. Just take your dog and go away." Leo and Rookie looked at each other, shrugged, and Leo said, "Well, Snap's up there, and I have no interest in climbing back down. Let's continue up whether we're welcome or not." Rookie nodded, and they proceeded toward the ledge above. The two pulled themselves over a rock layer, stood a meter below the ledge, and Snap scampered down to meet them. A man stood with his hands on his hips, glaring. "I told you you're not welcome here. Now that you got your dog, just go away." "We mean no offense," Rookie replied. "We're just exploring." "Explore somewhere else. I don't want to be disturbed. I want privacy." "Well, we'll just pass through then," Leo said. "We'll stop at the ledge, only to find a good route." "I don't want you here." "You've made that clear, and we'll leave as soon as we can find a route," Rookie said. Chapter 6. An Unusual Swiss Man. Fred Pfund was not a typical Swiss, and certainly not the polite, kind, cautious, even-tempered person outsiders expect to encounter when they meet a Swiss man. He never stopped complaining. He complained the world wasn't fair to him. He spoke out his feelings the moment he had them, and sometimes shouted them out. Like if his wife did not give him the biggest piece of schnitzel for dinner, he bent his head toward whosoever's plate held the bigger piece and licked his chops until they traded with him. If his neighbor's garden produced bigger carrots than his, he first complained he'd been cheated out of the best soil, and then yelled at his son for letting weeds grow. If a car passed him on the highway, he'd either curse the driver or speed up and pass him. Those and similar small grievances made Fred annoying, but his repeated return to one huge complaint made him unbearable. Fred owned a cigarette factory. Global health concerns led to people smoking fewer cigarettes in recent years, and that meant he made less money. Another person in his position might have been cheered that people were healthier and changed his factory to manufacture a different product, like perhaps chewing gum, or better yet, Swiss yogurt. But not Fred. He complained nonstop that people who discouraged smoking were unfair to him and disparaged them as do-gooders. He harped on it so much that his friends avoided him and his family just tuned him out. When his cousin said a person of character either does something about his problems or stops complaining, Fred rudely sent him out of his house. The remark hurt, but Fred knew it was fair, eventually took it to heart, and decided to do something. He'd take dramatic, bold action and get justice for himself. He nodded his head, and a smile came on his face when a plan abruptly formed in his mind. "Ooh, oh, that'd be nasty," he thought. "Nasty, but totally fair. Those guys hurt me, so I'll hurt them." Like most Swiss men, Fred had served in the Swiss army. His specialties were engineering and explosives, and he was impressed by the enormous facilities generations of engineers had carved into alpine rock. He worked on most of them, and he knew one that had a powerful air circulation fan. He thought its location and other features made it perfect. Fred was evolving from an annoying curmudgeon into a determined, dangerous dude. Chapter 7. A Snap Surprise. The man kicked dirt at them and backed away from the edge. The boys scrambled up the final meter to the ledge and only then saw the two massive gray steel doors built into the cliff. Facing them with Snap at his side, Leo pointed at the double doors. They're big enough for a train tunnel. And he asked, "What's this?" "I'm not here to answer your questions. The best way off the ledge is over there. Now get moving." Rookie trotted in the direction the man pointed, and Snap ran ahead of him, disappearing among the rocks. But when Rookie realized that Leo hadn't moved, he walked back, stood next to him, and the two stared at the man, who silently stared back. The standoff lasted 2 long minutes until the man said, "Okay, I get it. You don't intend to be fair and respect my privacy. Since you don't intend to be fair to me, I won't be fair to you. So, I think it's fair to declare might makes right. You got 30 seconds to be gone or be forced off. I'll take satisfaction in knocking you down that cliff." He rubbed his hands together and pushed his sleeves up. Rookie looked at Leo and then at the man and said, "Gee, mister, those are ugly words to say in such a beautiful spot. But okay, you were here first. We'll accept it and leave. But first, I'm going to make a proclamation to the world." He stepped to the middle of the ledge, looked out at the valley, cupped his hands around his mouth, and shouted as loudly as he could, "The Red Sox are the best baseball team in the world! Red Sox, Red Sox, Red!" His proclamation was interrupted by a powerful rumbling sound. The huge steel doors lurched apart and began pulling away from each other on a steel track. "What the?" the man said. When the door was opened a meter, Snap danced out. You stupid dog! Get it out of here now! Get out!" he screamed. The man's head looked like it would explode. "Mister, are you okay? Your face is all red," Rookie said. Snap immediately returned inside, and before the door opened another meter, it stopped. "Oh, I get it now. Red," Rookie called out, and the door resumed opening. Leo jumped in. "Mister, is this door controlled by a button? A red button?" The door stopped again. The man shook a finger at Leo and walked toward him, his fists out at his side. "Red!" Leo called out. The door restarted and slid until it jolted to a stop at its maximum. Rookie walked into the cavern around piles of stuff and returned to the ledge with Snap on a leash. She pulled Rookie toward the man and jumped up against his leg as though he were her best friend. "We taught her the word red," Rookie explained. "She's trained to touch something red. Has to be nearby, of course, whenever she hears the word." Snap tugged to return inside the doors, but Rookie restrained her. Shaking his head, the man said, "But the door's red button is higher than you are tall." "What can I say?" Rookie said. "She's a jumper." Snap jumped excitedly, pawed the man's shirt, and rubbed his leg. The man said, "The only way she could have made it inside was through one of those hidden emergency tunnels. Anyway, who are you guys? Are you Swiss?" "No," Leo said. We're just here for a short time, and we want to hike through these mountains. I'm Leo, that's Rookie, and this is Snap. Would you mind telling us who you are?" The man reached down and petted Snap. She wanted more, but she couldn't say so because her new vocabulary was limited to red, rook, and run. So she went with the most versatile word she knew, "Roof," and rubbed against his leg. Snap's soft fur and friendly look drained the man's anger away. He looked from Leo to Rookie to Snap and said, "My name's Fred, and I live near the lake in Lausanne. I'm here trying to get away from some people who have been very unfair to me." "This is a nice place to reflect and deal with a tough situation," Leo said as he took a couple of steps to the ledge, sat, and dangled his legs off. Rookie followed with Snap and sat down too. Both Leo and Rookie would have liked to rush in and explore the cavern instead of sitting, but they were afraid. They thought Fred might react by forcing them to leave. When Rookie waved Fred forward, he stared at them a few seconds, and then came and sat. Now 3 sets of legs dangled from the ledge. Leo asked, "Is there anything about that unfair situation you can tell us?" The man sat mute. After a few awkward moments, Fred nodded and told him about his cigarette factory, the problem with his declining sales, and his deep annoyance at the people he called do-gooders. He said, "They should mind their own business. The last thing the world needs is do it my way to be healthy preachers and be nice to the environment babysitters. Would they like it if I told them how to run their lives?" Leo said, "Gee, you sound angry. Can you tell us more?" "Yeah, I want fairness, justice. It's what I call Fred justice. If those do-gooders are going to worry about everybody else's health and wreck my business, I should be able to give them their own health problems to worry about. Maybe then they'll leave me and my cigarettes alone. Fred justice. The more I think about it, I like that phrase, Fred justice. That's my goal." "Wow, you sound committed," Rookie exclaimed. "I am," he smirked. "You know, that if you looked around and understood what you saw." The boys were confused. They responded with blank looks, and Fred continued, "Well, why am I here? Well, I'll tell you. You see that long, wide valley out there? That's the valley. It takes cool air down from the snow-covered Alps to the top of the lake. Many times each year, the bees comes down from the north to meet it over there near the Chillon Castle. I know," he said sarcastically. "You're going to now ask, what's the bees? Well, it's cold, dry north wind that blows down the lake real fast toward Geneva. But it blows only when the air pressure in the town of Göttingen up there," he said while pointing, "is higher than in Geneva. The Swiss Weather Forecast Service sends real-time air pressure readings, and my PC in the cavern in there, it'll send me an alarm when the bees starts to blow." "Well, that's interesting," Leo said, but what's it got to do with you being here and your anger at people you call do-gooders?" "Okay, a fair question." Fred grew excited now, and his hand gestures became expansive. If there was anything he liked better than complaining, it was bragging. "There are 6 airplane hangars able to hold 30 planes each built into these mountains. There are loads of other facilities and enough space for every Swiss family to live inside. I worked to improve all of them when I was in the army. Behind you, in there, is a 5,000-bed hospital the army built at the start of World War II in case of an invasion. I helped improve that, too." Fred put his fists to his shoulders and twisted as though he needed to stretch. But in reality, it was his way to swagger while sitting down. "I know the 10-digit code to open that box over there. It controls these doors from the outside. There's a huge air circulation fan inside, and just a few days ago I used it to blow a tracking gas out into the valley. He looked at the boys, expecting a reaction. Rookie said, "Well, that's interesting, too. We did see a yellow gas, but I still don't get why you're here." "I needed the tracking gas to be certain the radioactive material would reach the lake and the bees." Both boys shook their heads and looked even more confused. "Okay," Fred said. "Come on inside and I'll show you." Leo thought, finally, we can check out this cool place. Chapter 8. A Look Inside. The boys scrambled to their feet and Fred pointed inside. They could see very little at first because the bright sun on the ledge made the cavern dark. "This hospital isn't actively used, of course, but it still contains a huge supply of medicines, some stored in seal-lead containers." Fred pointed to a pile of boxes close to the doors that were becoming visible now as the boys' eyes adjusted. "That's all radioactive stuff. It's not super dangerous, but you don't want to eat it." "No need to worry about that," Rookie said. They walked inside and now saw a heavy steel igloo-shaped structure immediately behind the radioactive material. "What's all this?" Leo asked. "Well, it's a power booster, but it's mainly just an insurance policy. I'm the architect." Fred smiled and beamed at them. He loved bragging. "I built it from the jet engine blast deflectors they stored here in case the hospital needed to be reworked into an airplane hangar. Its job is simply to ensure the power of the blast goes straight out the doors and doesn't disperse inside the cavern here," he said, waving his arms at the expanse of dark, empty space behind him. "Huh? What blast?" Leo responded. "Ah, you don't get it because you don't know what's underneath this structure. You ever hear of C4? Nope," Rookie said. "Well, come on over here and you can see it." The boys walked to where he was pointing. Fred came up behind them and said, "That's one heck of a pile of C4. You get it now, don't you? C4 is a powerful explosive." White blocks like giant bars of soap sat in front of them, stacked 6 high, all connected by wires to a single box. "I rearranged a dozen 16-bar demolition charges and shaped them to blow that pile of radioactive stuff out the doors. The steel housing I built's not critical. It's just extra protection against losing even a joule of power." Fred's eyes were lively and cheerful, but when he pointed to the box with wires, his face took on a wild berserk appearance. "When I send a signal to this puppy, an 8,000 meter per second blast wave will disintegrate that pile of radioactive stuff and blow it right out into the breeze coming down the valley. It'll be unstoppable." Leo said, "So you'll send a radioactive cloud to the lake?" Fred's expression grew wild and crazed. "I can't wait," he said insistently. "I'd like to blow it this second, but I can't. I need the bees to carry the cloud down the lake." Still confused, the boys just stared at him. After a moment, Fred continued, "See those canisters closest to the C4? That's more of the yellow tracking gas. 100 times more than I used a few days ago to check on the valley's winds. They'll make the cloud visible. It'll terrify anyone who sees it." Rookie asked, Why would you want that?" The message, boy. I want them to get the message. Do-gooders can't go around telling everybody to stop smoking and insist they do things the so-called healthy way. He puffed out his chest and raised his fists into the air. When the bees reaches land in Geneva, my Fred Justice cloud will lose energy, and it'll deposit its radioactive material. And where exactly will that reach land? Right at the United Nations site. And since the WHO building sits at a high point, it'll receive the most. They're the ones trying to kill my cigarette business. It's only fair. The do-gooders will walk out of the building, look up in fear of the Fred Justice cloud, swallow radiation, go home and throw up. Nobody will die, but they'll get sick and feel awful for a long time. But Fred, Leo shouted, those people you call do-gooders, they're helping others lead better lives, and they're protecting all of us, protecting you too. Pah! What's fair is fair. They hurt me, I'll hurt them. We'll be even. No way, Rookie said. It's not fair to hurt good people just because you haven't changed your factory to build something that doesn't harm people. Pah! And besides that, our parents are in that WHO building. We're not going to let you do this horrible thing. That's a good joke. Look at the size of me, and look at the size of you. And look at what I built. Might makes right. Chapter 9. Confrontation. A series of pings rising in volume came from the PC. An air pressure alert, Fred said as he rushed to the PC. He read the Geneva Göttingen pressure differential and jubilantly proclaimed, Finally! Time for action! What do you mean? Leo asked. Fred picked up what looked like a fancy TV remote. This detonation controller will set off that C4 in about 1 minute and send Fred Justice Cloud on its way to Geneva. He snickered. My weather forecast for WHO is radioactive rain in about 25 minutes. Rookie yelled, Why hurt people? It's not all about you. It's not about your crazy ideas about what's fair. It's about doing the right thing. It's about helping everybody. Ha! I should have figured. You're do-gooders just like your parents. I knew there was something mushy about you two. Still we are, and your mush will be toast in 1 minute. He unplugged his PC, put it under his arm, and said, I'm getting out of here, and the moment I'm beyond those boulders outside, the show starts. You'd better beat it too before I press this little itty-bitty red button here. Chapter 10. Snap Defense. Snap had been standing at Rookie's side. She dashed to the front wall, jumped, and pushed the big red button, and the huge doors started to close. Yeah! Fred shouted. He ran towards Snap and tried to kick her. The whole mountain will explode if those doors are closed. Leo ran forward, and he bashed the far bigger man with his shoulder, knocking him off balance and away from the door's control button. Rookie followed, head down with arms braced in front. Thud! He knocked Fred off his feet. Fred jumped up and swung his fists wildly at the boys. You'll pay for that, and you can fly in here for all I care, he shouted. He reached the door's big red button and pushed it. The doors reversed and again started to open. Leo rushed out to the ledge. He yelled back inside, Ha! You got company, crazy man. A Swiss police helicopter hovered in the valley and started to move toward the ledge. Fred heard the whoop of helicopter blades, rushed to the door, saw the police chopper, and stood frozen. Rookie seized the moment, rushed from the side, and smashed his wrist. The remote control device hit the ground and dropped off the ledge. Fred kicked at Rookie, who dashed off the ledge and behind the boulders where he hid. Fred took a wild punch at Leo and chased him before giving up and shouting, "You guys will get yours, you stupid fools!" He stopped, took a grief-stricken look at his massive, dirty bomb, put his head down, ran at full speed deep into the cavern, and disappeared into a passageway. Chapter 11. Good, but not perfect. Rookie came out of his hiding place behind the boulders, returned to the ledge where Leo was standing. "We sure are lucky the police are coming. I wonder how they knew." "Dude, that was just my hologram projector," Leo said, and Rookie looked chagrined, and then smiled as Leo went on. "Good thing Fred didn't stop and think. That sound projector I built barely worked. If he hadn't panicked, Fred would have noticed the chopper sounded far more distant than the image. But I guess his thinking isn't functioning too well, or he wouldn't have plotted this insane operation. Can you imagine the pollution and sickness he would have caused?" Rookie said, "Yeah, good man, Leo. Your hologram saved the day again. Can you reach Pops and see if he can get us out of here? Copy that, Rook. I bet the sky signal won't work because he's in a meeting room somewhere, so I'll phone." Pops answered right away. Told him to hang tight and move as far from the explosives as practical. Rookie said, "You know, Leo, we can't be 100% certain that Fred won't be back with a gun or something. I'll disconnect the detonator wires and then see if we can lock the big doors after closing them. But first, could you try to find Fred's remote detonator? Whatever you do, don't touch the button." "You can be sure of that," Leo said. The boys took a look down the tunnel where Fred had disappeared. Even though Snap wanted to check it out, they decided against it. They closed the doors, returned to the ledge, and jammed a rock against the track. While waiting for Pops, they tried to figure out Fred. But his attitudes and his behavior, it stumped them. Then a real police helicopter arrived with Pops and the Swiss Army's bomb squad. It hovered, but the ledge was too narrow to land, and it had to set down far below, and they climbed up. A police officer debriefed the boys, patted Snap on the head, and they all headed for home. Mom greeted them at the front door of their apartment and immediately scanned them and Snap with a Geiger counter to make sure they hadn't been exposed to radiation. The boys fed Snap before sitting down and took out a box of doggy treats for her dessert. After they told Mom and Pops the whole story, Rookie said, "I can't understand Fred. He's so angry at people who are just trying to do good. Sure, his business was affected, but how can he be angry at people just trying to do the right thing?" Mom said, "Yes, it's confusing. Everybody sees the world through their own eyes, through the lens of their past experiences, through the lens of what they think is good for them, through how they want others to see them. If you listen to their feelings as well as their words, you can sometimes understand them, but not always. All you can do is help them to understand you, try to influence them for the better, and accept your differences as long as there's no harm done. Of course, you must protect yourself and protect others against them if they become threatening. And that's what you two did today. Well done, defenders." Rookie said, "And don't forget Snap. She was a good defender, too." "Yeah, I don't know how things would have worked out if she hadn't been a helping paw," Leo said with a smile. "Let's pin a blue marble defender button on her collar." Nods of agreement came from everyone. Pop said, "We have to celebrate your foiling that plot, but we can't declare 100% victory. Let's hope the police find that guy and we never encounter him again." Leo said, "Pops, there's another way this wasn't 100%. Although the hologram of the police chopper reflected nicely off the microscopic dust and moisture in the air, the sound flowed right through and traveled all the way across the valley before reflecting back off the cliffs on the other side. The image and sound were really out of sync. Do you have any suggestions? Pops replied, Nothing comes immediately to mind, but how about doing this? Learn to program a quantum computer. Feed it all the scientific knowledge gained since Isaac Newton came along, and frame exactly the right question for its artificial intelligence. Leo replied, Now that's a challenge. Thanks. I'd love to try programming one of those fancy computers, and it's better than my thought of pursuing ventriloquism. The stress of the day was showing on both boys. They ate dinner with little conversation, went to bed right away, and were followed shortly by their parents. The moon shone on quiet streets, and only one in the apartment remained awake. As she lay on her soft round bed in the corner, chewing on a doggy treat, Snap ruminated about the day's events. I'm happy with myself. I went a step beyond normal dogness today. I know I can still do more. I'll keep learning, and maybe another chance will come my way. And if it does, I'll jump up. The end.